McKee, Patrick Brown, Go Vols 24/7 here on campus on Wednesday of
National
Championship
signing
week and signing. Tennessee doesn't play a game this week. We'll talk about Josh Heupel referencing that in a moment. Today is signing day. We are recording 2 no-huddles. Myself and Patrick Brown are here to talk about more of the football team, the current team side of things, and we'll have another video that should be posted as you're watching this. Myself and Ryan Callahan discussing Tennessee's developments here on signing day. But Josh Heupel did just get done speaking to the media, and it wasn't 100% signing day questions. There were other questions, and of course, after last night's ranking, he was asked about his thoughts on the ranking and where Tennessee stands. Before we get to Heupel's thoughts, I'm curious as to your thoughts of where Tennessee was seeded, where they're predicted in the bracket, and just your thoughts on how things shake out. I guess we're 3-4 days away from the final bracket being announced on Sunday.
Yeah, Ben, I tried to prepare the wonderful subscribers of Go Vols 24/7 on the checkerboard on Sunday that it was all just prepare that Ohio State was going to be higher. And they were. And people were asking about, Ohio State fell behind Tennessee in the AP poll and the coaches poll. And people were like, that's good, right? No, did not matter one iota. This committee was going to do whatever it was going to do. We've seen that throughout the past several weeks. They will pick and choose whatever they want to to justify how they rank teams. But Ward Manuel, the selection committee chair on the call last night, was almost matter of fact in describing why Ohio State was higher than Tennessee. He pointed to Ohio State as 2 top 10 wins. He didn't even mention, I think, Tennessee's winning against Alabama. Only mentioned their losses. And some of the other comments from that too didn't make it sound like there's a great chance that Tennessee's going to be playing a home game. Even if Penn State were to lose the Big Ten championship game to Oregon, they could slide behind Ohio State if they want to view that head-to-head. Or they could, and of course Georgia loses, they'll have 3 losses, but they beat Tennessee. And it certainly wasn't an indication that also might happen. So Tennessee might be locked into the 9 seed, might be locked into playing on the road. Should they be better than Ohio State? I don't know. Those teams are very similar in metrics in a lot of ways. Profiles are similar. But the big thing is Ohio State just lost to Michigan. It was, a 24-point underdog
on your home
in
field.
Columbus. And they were terrible in that game.
I think that's a worse loss than the Arkansas loss.
I would agree, too. SEC on the road at night. I mean, Michigan has not been very good all season. Michigan was 5-5 until they beat Northwestern 2 weeks ago. So, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. I did enjoy Josh Heupel's commentary. When asked about his reaction, he said, going into this thing, if you don't have the mindset of anywhere, anyone, anytime, then you're only here for a short cup of coffee. And he did, on the way out the door, out of the studio, say he prefers black coffee, for those who were wondering. But I love that mindset, but it does bring up the question of, should Heupel be stumping for his program like you are seeing other head coaches kind of embarrass themselves in the process of doing? I kind of like that he's taking the approach of, it just kind of is what it is. We're going to control what we can control, even if we don't have a game this week. And if we don't show up with the mindset of anyone, anywhere, anytime, then we're not going to be playing in this thing for very long anyways.
I don't drink coffee, so I don't in case anyone was wondering. That's...
We weren't.
I know. You see Lane Kiffin out there on Twitter talking about Ole Miss. You saw South Carolina, they're doing all that stuff too. And I guess it's going to get them to the Gator Bowl. I don't know.
And that is a little bit different. They're trying to get into the playoffs.
Right. And, it's not like Heupel's he's not fighting for his team. It's just that he just understands that, hey, we're in. That's all that matters. Let's just go from there. He also knows that whatever he says is not going to change the minds of those 13 people that are making these rankings up. So he would, the football guy in him would probably be like, that's wasted energy. Let's just go play the game. This guy is a former quarterback. He played for a national championship. He is a lot more competitive than I think sometimes he lets on. And maybe behind the podium. So I think he probably would take the view that, whatever I say, if I get out there on Twitter, I don't know how much he runs on Twitter, probably not very much at all. Or if he gets out there and says, we should do this, we should do that. He did talk a little bit about the SEC and the strength of it after the game on Saturday, but if he gets out there and gives a big speech, is it going to change anything? Are the committee members going to be like, you know what, he's right, we're going to flip Ohio State and Tennessee? No, probably not. So just not control what you control. That's the mantra of the program, and obviously it's got to start at the top. So maybe he's just walking the walk that they talk in the program.
Yeah, and part of preparing yourself right now is getting healthy. Tennessee's depth was certainly tested on Saturday at Vanderbilt. There were a lot of injuries on both sides of the football. The most concerning one seems to be Squirrel White. Everybody else seems to be okay for the upcoming playoff game on the 20th or 21st. It's just a matter of resting up over these next 3 weeks. If they were playing this Saturday, probably a different story. But the fact that some of those guys have 3 weeks between Vanderbilt and the playoff game, that will afford them the opportunity to be rested up and ready to go. Squirrel White is the bigger question in my mind. Seems to be dealing with the same shoulder injury that plagued him earlier this year. He was on a sling on the field after the game on Saturday. I asked Josh Heupel if he expects him to be available to play, and he joked that we can look forward to the SEC media availability report tonight. That does not exist, but did come back and say that they anticipate everybody having a chance to get going in that football game.
Yeah, I didn't exactly see what happened to Squirrel at the end of the game. It seemed like he got hit like sort of after a play, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, as you mentioned, he's been dealing with
And
that.
Heupel was fired up on the field. It was kind of Dylan Sampson went down on the same play, and I didn't see exactly what happened. I was on the field at that point and had a weird angle, but Heupel was yelling at the Vanderbilt sideline and saying words that I'm not allowed to say on this video. So he was not pleased with whatever transpired there.
Yeah, that game got really chippy. Started at the end of the second quarter after the touchdown. You know, John Campbell tried to take out a DB after a run, and they called a flag for that. They did not call a flag for, I guess, whatever happened to Squirrel. So shout out to SEC officiating. But yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of people be like, well, Tennessee would be hosting if they hadn't lost Arkansas. If you hadn't lost Arkansas, you'd be playing in a game this weekend, and you wouldn't have a chance to get all these guys healthy. So the flip side of not getting a home game is you do get a little bit of extra time to get healthier. They did do they did practice today. Heupel mentioned that there was a lot of work for the younger guys. They're probably not giving Dylan Sampson a big workload this week. And there's a lot of guys that probably fit in that same category that they're just trying to rest up for a little bit. Because you have 3 weeks. You got this week, then you'll find out who you play, then you can sort of structure your practice schedule from there. But extra time does the body good this time of year. Obviously, all these players have come off a long 12-game season, and so a little extra time to get off the feet, rest a little bit. I guess they got to focus on exams too, so because they are here for school, I guess. So that time of year, it's probably good that they get some time to rest a little bit.
Tennessee doesn't play anybody, but it's still a busy week on campus. Big win for Tennessee basketball last night. Signing day today, and technically the next couple of days for the early signing period. Recruiting never stops, and of course the playoffs are right around the corner. We have full coverage of it all at GoVols247.com, which you can sign up for now through the beginning of January at 50% off, which sounds like a great deal to me. I don't know about you, but it sounds like a great deal to me. So we got everything Tennessee athletics covered at GoVols247.com. He's Patrick Brown. I'm Ben McKee.